I see things.
David.
It wasn't supposed to be like this.
I know. But it is.
What's up, guys? Greg and Ryan here, and we're breaking down another episode of Legion. We are on episode 6 of season 2. It is chapter 14, a look at what could have been.
Now, before we get started, make sure you subscribe to Universe, where we got you covered for deep dives, TV show breakdowns, including season 2 of Westworld. Okay, so this is the first episode completely written by Noah Hawley. Ryan, what'd you think?
I thought it was extremely ambitious. I thought it was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was too much of a departure from the main storyline and main plot driving through this season.
I don't know. I don't agree. I really love this episode, only because if you take it from the fact that this is all in David's head.
Yeah.
This is a love letter from Noah Hawley to the character Amy. They didn't want to leave you with the sour taste from last week's episode. How you just jump back into this character so quickly and then kill her off.
Yeah.
And I felt like this was their next step with her. They're like, we want you to, like, just don't forget about this character. We loved her.
I do agree with you to some extent. I just wish that they kind of did this maybe if they had swapped these 2 episodes and given us a reason to kind of remember and care about Amy. You know, before this, I don't think she was that great of a written character in season 1. We didn't really have much connection to her. If it was a different character and had more weight, then I could see how this would be a huge impact to viewers.
It goes back to Sid.
Yeah.
If this were Sid, it would be a lot different.
But yeah, we don't want Sid to die, anything to happen to her, bad to happen to her. I just feel like had these 2 episodes maybe swapped, it might have had more weight when we see her transform body swap with Lenny.
True, but that also changes your perception of what this episode was in the first place. Now that she's dead, you can say that everything you saw, all those multiple timelines, are all from David's head, and this is just him coping with her death.
I love that idea. I love that this is a traumatic experience, and the instant that he finds out that she is no longer alive, this is how he deals with that trauma.
He's going back and he's looking at different timelines.
He's basically tapped into every reality as a mutant, and he can see the connection and what she meant to him in every single David throughout the eternity of Davids. You know, I do like that idea. I actually really enjoyed that idea.
What am I supposed to do?
I'll take the pills.
You tried to, with an extension cord.
It wouldn't stop the voices and...
I really think this is just in David's head. These storylines that you saw in this episode are all from David's mind when he's trying to deal with what just happened with the sudden death of his sister.
Yeah, and I do think it's a fun nod to the comics. Obviously, the multiverse and all these multiple alternate realities and universes are heavy in the comics. We know Legion doesn't pull that much from the comics, but I think it's a fun little nod to be like, hey guys, we're kind of flirting with the idea of multiple dimensions, realities, and stuff like that.
I hope it's just flirting with the idea. Please.
Every event, the things we do, there's like a million possible outcomes. Choices. And the theory is that each outcome actually happens.
But the part that really drew me to the idea that this is all in his head is the scene where David, as a billionaire, is thinking of his childhood, back to his sister again, and it cuts back to him, and then you hear Amy and snaps out of it.
Yeah.
Actually, it cuts straight to the green tree, the little green plant, and then it focuses in on Amy right after that. Makes me wonder, okay, was he just daydreaming that whole thing? He was just looking at the plant, daydreaming of the billionaire like lifestyle he could have had, and all these different things. I think that's what they're going for here.
It's all a world that he created in his own powerful mind.
And the confusing part about this whole thing is you don't know where it begins or ends, or which mind is the one controlling all of these.
Right. Different timelines, different Davids, different points of their lives. Yeah, it's all over the place. Like we said, this is big in the comic books, but for the first time, Legion kind of branched off in the idea of the many worlds or multiple worlds theory, which basically means there's an infinite number of realities out there, and based on the choices you make, these things branch out to more and more and more. It's a whole lot easier to explain when you have French fries.
And every time each me makes a decision or something happens where the future could like go in different directions, another branch springs up, and that branch makes branches, and that branch makes branches, and that branch makes branches, and that branch makes branches.
Okay, so there are quite a few Davids in this episode.
Quite a few, yeah.
Yeah, we got homeless David, we have office worker David, we have junkie David, we have billionaire David, we have old man David. Also, we have happy life David.
Now, some of these Davids are the same Davids.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. It's just different parts of that David's life. So like the office assistant David, who was getting coffee at one point in the show, then becomes a billionaire because he's a psychic and can, you know, make incredible business deals and decisions in his life. And then his boss becomes
His
assistant when he's billionaire and he's all powerful and can do whatever he wants.
Magneto.
Yeah, and that definitely was not a coincidence. Nope. This is a fun little nod to the comic book characters. Billionaire David looking a lot like Magneto, and then when he's old, bald, and in a wheelchair, that David resembles his father, Professor X. A fun little reference to the comic book characters of X-Men lore.
Another cool Easter egg that we noticed, or a little nod in there, was obviously to Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, the tunnel scene.
Yeah.
Where they're in there.
Almost a shot-for-shot recreation. It was really fun, though.
Yeah, even the exact same line the old man gives in Clockwork Orange is delivered by David.
Man on the moon, the man spinning around the earth, and there's no attention paid to earthly law and order no more. Come on.
Man on the moon, and men spinning around the earth, and there's not no attention paid to earthly law and order no more.
We get to see how powerful David really is as a mutant. His power is at work, and he disintegrates those guys in a matter of seconds. And I love the small little details of this show. The burned silhouettes into the ground. A very eerie sight when you see David and his mutant powers manifest. Where was David when Thanos showed up? I mean, he doesn't need a gauntlet. We also noticed the theme of boxes throughout all these different alternate realities of David. Homeless David, obviously lives in a box. We got dairy worker David who's stacking boxes. We got office David who's stuck looking like in the basement of office space with filing cabinets all around him. And then we have, even billionaire David, an angular house mansion with, looking like a box on top of a cliff. He's got a couple friends there getting high and even a donkey in the background. The theme of boxes is present throughout this episode.
I'm pretty sure the boxes represent that he's trapped in his own mind. That, he just can't get out of it. Each and every one of them, he's just locked inside.
No matter where he's traveling to in his mind, he feels trapped in that reality.
Not paying you to talk on the phone.
I gotta go.
Okay. Well, it's 3 o'clock now. I'll meet you out front at 8. Have a great day.
So for a mutant like David, being trapped in a reality is sometimes so boring that he even makes mice sing for him. And this was one of the more entertaining parts of the episode, to be honest, but also pretty far out there.
Slave to Love. Yeah, I think it's because if you notice the background too, there's no fancy colors.
Yeah.
It's all just bland, and this is just telling you he is so bored that the only thing he can do right now is just have this little mouse dance for him.
You got to know the strong give way.
And this comes back to the same idea that he can create his own reality. Farouk told him this numerous times, that he can play God.
Yeah.
And he can literally make anything happen that he wants to happen. So if he wants mice to sing around him, then that's what he's gonna get.
Can he bring Amy back? I don't know. And then we get the devil with the yellow eyes, finally returns after we've missed him pretty much this whole entire season.
Yeah.
Creepy as hell still. To this day.
Still scary, especially the bit when he's walking down the street with him, and then he shows up in the back of the cop car. I think it was just pretty much showing you that the Shadow King is present in every single one of his alternate realities.
Yes.
That he never escaped or broke free from the Shadow King's influence.
Which is what makes me think this is all in David's head, because why isn't there a reality where, Xavier never met the Shadow King? Also, you might not have noticed this in the first glance, but if you go back to the episode where he's the coffee boy David at the very beginning, he crosses paths with a D3 right there, Division 3. You can't miss it. Shout outs to Reddit, because I did not see that at all.
It happened so quickly, I didn't even notice that either. So yeah, thank you, Internet. And then we get more background on David Prime's past. So we see him attempt to commit suicide, which we saw in the first season.
Yeah.
And then we see when he decided to agree to go into Clockworks. when Amy brought him there, and against all of what she wanted to do, she had to enter him in there because he's a very sick man.
Yeah, there's you're like, is she lying to him about the 3 weeks or whatever? I can see that. He was very sick, so she probably just wanted to get him in there. But at the same time, who knows? They could have just found out he had powers and kept him longer.
I think she knew it was a longer treatment for him after living with him his entire life and knowing that he was really ill, and obviously that set through the path of what we saw in season 1 and now into season 2. So cool to get a little context into how that all started.
Okay, let's jump into favorite moments now. Ryan, what do you got?
I love the mouse part, but my favorite bit, and I could watch an entire show on this, Carrie wielding that katana blade and slicing David in half. Like, I want that TV show. I want to see that TV show.
I can hear it now. After a new episode of Married with Children, the revival, The Carries, on Fox.
Yeah, a little duo, both Carries coming back, hunting down rogue mutants. I'm all in on that.
So I'm a huge David Cronenberg fan, body horror, so my favorite scene obviously has to be the part where the cop just like reverse scanners and he just like implodes on himself.
That has to be one of the most gruesome kills in the 2 years of Legion, right?
Yeah.
I think it was. I mean, that was really gross, let's be honest, guys.
I loved it.
You're sick.
It's fake. It's fake. It's not real.
All right, now it's time for any of our final thoughts, questions, predictions, theories.
Yes.
Lots of questions, basically. What are you thinking?
Okay, again, style over substance. We argued about this last week.
Yeah.
And this week again, it diverges again from the storyline, the main plot here with Farouk and the body and the hunt. I think every single week, the pacing was so high until we got to the Sid episode.
Yeah.
And now I think people are just like, where are we going? What's going on? These other plots are taking over too much of the storyline. I think it's fine, guys. I think in the long run, this is all going to be important to the storyline. I hope.
I hope so too, because I felt like it was too much of a departure from the main storyline. Listen, I love how the show looks, how it's shot, cinematography, the score, everything is awesome about these episodes. But I just feel like I was pulled too far out of Farouk and trying to get his body, and how does that whole thing happen? And why isn't David just, immediately going after to fight him? It's like they're delaying the inevitable, and it's just a little bit too much of a timeout for me.
I think this gave us clues to what's going to happen in the future. Hopefully not anything that involves other Davids showing up to kick Farouk's ass. But Amy is a major character here going forward. I don't think this is the last time we're going to see this character at all.
That's a great point. And speaking of Amy, do you think David has the power to pull Amy from a different reality or create her and bring her back into his current reality, which we see in the show?
Ryan, they pulled a gun off of a desk in D3 and then used body samples from another character to create to bring a character back to life after they already said that they couldn't bring this character back.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a body for her. Anybody could come back. And this leads me to the next thing about multiverses and why I hate them.
Dr. Caitlin Snow, Cisco Ramon. Meet Dr. Harrison Wells from Earth 2.
Hi. Hi.
Listen, I love The Flash. I watch it almost every week on CW. But they utilize the multiverse, or how many Earths there are, just like they use in the comics. And it's just a way for you to kill somebody off and then bring them back whenever you want. In any different world, they can take them from another one, and so...
Put them through completely different stories and just see how they react, and then always go back to reset it, and then everything's back to normal. So the good news is it looks like next week we'll get another showdown between Farouk and David on the astral plane.
Yes.
We also, it looks like Sid has something growing in her forehead, a delusion possibly.
I hope they finally explain what the delusion is, where it's stemming from.
Yeah.
It's either David or Admiral Fukuyama.
Or if Farouk got, infected D3 and people over there.
It's all the Shadow King.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll find out.
Let us know what you guys thought of this episode and what you think will happen in the next coming weeks on Legion. Do you guys like this type of departure, or are you more concerned about Farouk? Me, I want to see more Shadow King.
Let's do a whole storyline with just the Carries.
I'll take that too.
I'm gonna find your body.
and then I'm going to burn it.
On your mark. Get set. Now it's time to make them pay. Go.
Isn't it weird? What is happening to me?
Terrible things.
Use your words.